UFC Fight Night Pereira versus Hernandez is this weekend, and I'm here to go over all of my picks for the card, all of my betting picks, and a breakdown of each fight, starting with the very first fight on the card. We have Robelis Despaigne making a comeback against Austen Lane. They're clearly trying to give Despaigne a layup after he got fraud checked the last fight by Waldo Cortez Acosta. Lane is coming off back-to-back KOs himself, and Robelis is obviously a big finishing threat. I'm gonna keep it simple. I'm gonna take Robelis by first round knockout. This is gonna be one of my first betting picks as well because I think that's probably one of the safest things. Here's the thing: it's either gonna happen or if it goes past the first round, he's probably gonna get fraud checked again. If Lane's smart, he's just gonna try to shoot a takedown and just pray that he can hold this dude down. Um, Despain had some problems on the feet last fight against Acosta because he just couldn't find the range. He's very weird. He likes to stand super wide with his arms out, and he could not get in range, find the range. It was just a weird. He did not look good. He did not look good. It was definitely a classic fraud check. So I'm going to take him to bounce back here. First round KO against Lane. Here's where stuff gets a little tricky. The UFC thinks this is just a joke to us, so they decided to give us 3 women's fights in a row. So in honor of that, I'm not doing it. Okay, we're not doing that. That's going to be a built-in break. Right, first fight we got Elise Ardelean, and Melissa Martinez. Not to mention all of these fights are extremely evenly matched. I'm not even going to bother picking. Heads is going to be Elise. Tails is going to be Melissa. Let's see what we got. Tails, Melissa Martinez. We're going to go by decision for all of these because that is probably the safest bet in all of sports. Okay. Next fight: Jessica Pena and Elise Reed. All right. Who we got this fight, Coin? Tails, Elise Reed, who I believe is the favorite as well. Slight favorite. We're going to take her by decision. Nice. Good for her. And moving up the card, Joselyne Edwards and Tamires Vidal. This one I'm actually just going to pick. Joselyne Edwards probably going to win. She's just better. I've seen more from her that's better. Tamires Vidal, very short stint in the UFC so far, I believe. And yeah, just not good, just like the rest of them. So anyway, Edwards by decision. We'll just run through that and act like it never happened. Moving up to some real fights again. Brad Katona and Gene Matsumoto. Tough fight for Katona. He's looked pretty good recently. One win and one loss recently, but he's looked decent in terms of his pace and the wrestling. That's pretty much all he has. He's not great on the feet. He is very durable. But Matsumoto's coming into this 15-0, heavy favorite, and coming off a submission win over Dan Argueta in April. Like I said, Katona's been good, but Matsumoto's a solid finisher on the ground, and Katona has practically zero finishing ability. So I'm going to take Matsumoto by third round submission here. Um, like I said, Katona's durable, so I think he'll last, but I think he'll eventually just keep shooting in and probably get caught with something while shooting in a panic takedown. So we're going to go with Matsumoto here, third round submission. Up the card to another great fight. Matheus Nicolau and Almabayev. This one's a very tough one to pick. I really went back and forth on this, primarily because I feel like Almabayev isn't a big enough finishing threat on the feet to bring into factor how bad Nicolau's chin is. I don't know that his chin's going to be a factor in this fight. Almabayev's definitely better on the ground than the feet, and he's not a massive KO threat, which is Nicolau's main weakness, obviously. But my brain's telling me to take the 20-2 guy out of Kazakhstan. And Nicolau's coming off of 2 tough losses, man. Hasn't looked good, no momentum. Really hard for me to pick him at all after the last couple of fights. He was so good before that, man. So much promise, and then just got checked, and the chin could be gone at this point. So I'm going to take Asu Almabayev by decision here. I do think it's going to be a close fight, and maybe some money on Nicolau as an underdog here wouldn't be a bad idea, but I'm going to go with the Kazakhstani because these guys have been crazy recently. Anytime they bring one of these guys in, man, they're pretty crazy. So I'm going to go with him. Next card up the fight. Next card up the fight. Jesus Christ. Next fight on the card. Darren Elkins and Daniel Pineda. God, dude, going back to last fight card, it was just the mid again. Pineda has no good wins in the UFC, and while Elkins does suck comparatively to the rest of the division, way more UFC experience, and he looks decent like half the time. So I'm gonna go with the slight underdog somehow in Elkins to win by decision here. Not sure how he's an underdog, but like what from Pineda tells you that Elkins anyway. It's not even like his age. Elkins 40 years and 5 months, and Pineda's 39 years old. So it's not even like that's that big of a deal. That's a wash practically. I'm gonna take the experience of Elkins. I don't know. Pretty shit fight. But anyway, moving up to a better fight. Brady Hiestand and Jake Hadley. Another really tough one to pick, man. They've been at a lot of fights on these last 2 cards. have been such slight betting lines, and it's so hard to pick these. I like Jake Hadley here. Although Hiestand is riding a 3-fight win streak, it's kind of over some just terrible competition. But Hadley's coming off a nice decision win over Callan Loughnane, where honestly neither of them looked very technical, but Loughnane just looked like he was at a bar, like in a bar fight. I don't even understand, but these guys match up so evenly. The odds reflect that, but I'm going to take Hadley to edge out a close decision here, maybe even a split decision. But I think it's going to go the full distance, and I think Hadley's going to get it at the end. Moving up to the next fight, Sumudaerji and Charles Johnson. Another really tough one to pick. The betting odds are close. Charles Johnson is a -210 favorite, which should probably be a little closer than that, but he's looked good recently. He's riding a 3-fight win streak. He's looked much better recently, much more consistent, and Sumudaerji's coming off of 2 bad losses via submission to Tim Elliott and Matt Schnell. Better competition than I believe Charles Johnson probably is. Maybe not Matt Schnell. Matt Schnell's pretty shit, actually, but Sumudaerji has lost 6 times via sub in his professional career, and while Johnson hasn't had any submissions in the UFC, I do think we may see him knock down Sumudaerji at some point and maybe try to latch up a sub towards the end of the fight if he's tired. I'm going to go Johnson here just with his consistency, the momentum, and his finishability. I'm going to take him by decision. Could be Samish because Sumudaerji is clearly very vulnerable to that, but Charles Johnson has none to his record, so who knows? I'm going to take him by decision here. Let's move up to a very good fight in the co-main event of the evening. Rob Font and Kyler Phillips. Font's obviously just like a tough motherfucker. I mean, that's just what he does. Much better on the feet than I'd say on the ground, although he's definitely not a slouch on the ground. We know what to expect from him, but I like the youth and the skill of Phillips. What he's been shown recently in his last 3 fights has been very promising. He has wins over Song Yadong, and then recently in his last fight, Pedro Munoz. He does have a loss on his record to Holly and Pava via majority decision. I didn't rewatch that to see if that was a robbery, but that's a bad loss to have on your record one way or the other. It shouldn't even be close, really, but he's been looking much better recently, and I think that this momentum he has is he's going to keep building on it. And I feel like Font's kind of the gatekeeper at this point. And that it's going to kind of be that fraud check test for Phillips here. But I think if he can get him down, just work his game, and not just try to trade on the feet with him the entire fight, I think we'll have plenty of success here to get a unanimous decision, and that's what I'm going to take him with here. Font's been finished recently, but I think Phillips is just going to beat him bad over the course of 3 rounds and probably not finish him. I don't know. Tough one to pick the decision, like what's going to happen, but I like Phillips to take this one way or the other. So maybe a Phillips moneyline pick. Moving up to the main event of the evening, Michel Pereira and Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. Again, man, just a tough fight to pick. Hernandez is riding a 5-fight win streak, and his last loss was a while ago in a first-round KO to Kevin Holland. So obviously the chin has been checked. The main reason I like Pereira in this is because kind of that Hernandez's only loss in the UFC has been via finish, and nobody has a higher finishing potential that Fluffy has faced than Michel Pereira. Might be a stupid pick because Hernandez grappling has been so strong recently, but and that is Michel's worst area of mixed martial arts. But I think he's going to get a decision here. Neither of these guys have fought in 5 rounds since 2018, so that's going to be a little bit tricky. I think the longer the fight goes on, the better chances Hernandez has because Pereira has a tendency to empty the tank early. Maybe he'll be a little more timid with that and try to pace himself a bit more because he knows it's 5 rounds going into it. But if this is 3 rounds, I'm taking Pereira for sure. But 5 rounds, man, it's tough, man. It's tough. The wrestling of Hernandez versus Pereira. I know he's bigger at 85 and he's a little bit stronger now and might have a better gas tank, but tough one to pick. They're both 31. That really doesn't play into it. I'm saying this is 50-50. I wouldn't bet on this because I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen, but I'm going to take Pereira by first round KO. We're going to go first round KO. I think if he doesn't get in the first round, he's probably not going to get it at all, so I like him to get the first round KO here. Not Hernandez. What are we doing here? That's my pick here. My 3 betting picks for the card are going to be Despaigne by first round knockout. It's probably not going to be great money, but I think that's probably one of the best bets to actually happen on the card. I like Nicolau by decision as the underdog. Slight underdog. You might get him on some books like 2-1. I like him by decision here. I don't think he's going to win. I'm not picking him to win, but if you're trying to get plus money, I like it. And a good one for your parlay, I like Darren Elkins by decision. That's going to add a lot of value to a parlay, and he's very undervalued as a near even underdog here. I like that. One more that I like here, Hadley by decision. I would say submission or decision, but maybe money line. Why did I say submission or decision? No. Money line. Money line for Hadley. I like that. Match that up with Elkins in your parlay. Throw something else in that you feel good about. That's what I like for the card. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I'd love to know who you think's going to win the main event, co-main event. I have no, or sorry, the main event and then Nicolau Almabayev. Those are the two toughest fights for me to pick. Specifically the main event, man. These guys just have kind of dueling styles, and we're gonna find out Saturday night. We'll see. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Who do you think's going to win in the main event and the fight between Nicolau and Almabayev? Those are my two toughest ones to pick, specifically the main event. I have no idea. They're dueling styles. It's going to see over 5 rounds. Who knows? That makes it even more interesting. So let me know what you think. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe for more UFC content. And I'll be back after the card with a recap of all the fights. And we'll see how I did with the picks. Because I've been doing good the last 2 weeks. First time I picked O'Malley card, that was shit. After that, been pretty good. I think I was like 8 for 12 last week or 7 for 12, something like that. But anyway, I'll be back after the card. Peace.